Want to watch football without the restrictions of blackouts or cable? Check out expressvpn.com to help you get access to all the live games. Sign up today using the link in the description to get 3 free months. Shoutout, Bolt fam, it's the director. Chargers fans, how we feeling after our first experience of live action Chargers football this weekend? It was exciting, man. I enjoyed it immensely. The Chargers versus Rams. Now, even though that game didn't end the way we wanted, right? I would say at this point, who cares? I think we learned so much about this roster and the talent that we've got deep at pretty much every position at this point. It's looking very, very good. We learned a lot of important things on Saturday. And again, it's going to help surface a lot of these competitions that we're seeing at certain positions, right? And it feels like it's a good problem to have at this point. And we also got to remember, this was just week 1 of 3 in the preseason. If this game is any indication of the Chargers' quality of depth, we're in very, very good hands. So again, it's going to be fun, man. The Chargers, we saw some good things. We saw some things that maybe we need to clean up. But in this video today, I want to kind of dissect what we saw on Saturday in that game, what it means for the season, and some of the competitions to keep an eye on going forward. Now, before we jump into the video, guys, I wanted to give a quick shout out to you dudes on Twitter, on Instagram, on the YouTubes. I decided to do it, man. I posted my results as far as my weight loss journey goes, and it's been a long year, a lot of sacrifice, a lot of hard work and discipline, but we did it. We lost 75 pounds. And honestly, guys, your reaction really lifted me up once again. Thank you to everybody so much for all the love on Twitter. It's been absolutely insane to see the responses. And like I said here in this post, I do credit you guys for quite a bit of that confidence in pursuing it. You guys really helped me out in so many, let's say, difficult parts of my life. And I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you to the Bolt fam for just really being there, being a friend, and honestly just lifting up your fellow Chargers fans to accomplish, you know, big things even outside the world of football. So much love to the Bolt fam there. Now, before we do kick off, guys, in the comments, let me know in this question, pick one, right? We're going to keep it kind of simple. Pick one, Michael Bandy or Joe Reed. Who makes the roster? And additionally, do either of these guys threaten Jalen Guyton in his position on the roster? Let me know. Before we kick off, guys, hit us up with a like and sub. If you do enjoy this Chargers content, small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, and bell notification helps me out a lot. Let's get into it. Lights, camera, action. The Chargers versus Rams Week 1 preseason post-game report. Let's jump right into it with some numbers, right? Let's take a look at the box score for a second here. Get you guys' eyes on some of the status that we saw on Saturday, just to kind of keep in the back of your brains. We got Easton Stick with 119 and a touchdown on the ground, as well as an interception, by the way. We got Chase Daniel with 117, 2 touchdowns. He looked pretty good, too. I think a lot of people are very excited about Easton Stick, but we got to say that Chase Daniel looked all right. Next up, on the ground, Isaiah Spiller leading the pack, 10 for 34. More on him to come. Through the air, Michael Bandy, 73 and a touchdown. Joe Reed, 461 and a touchdown. That does complicate things a little bit in terms of the question we asked just a moment ago, does it not? And then finally, some of the defenders. I forgot to write down stuff about the middle linebackers, but it's okay. We'll address it right here. Troy Reed or Damon Lloyd. These guys have looked fantastic. Damon Lloyd there, too, with the tackle for loss. He's one of my biggest hopefuls to make the roster as far as, like, undrafted free agents, or free agents in general, I should say. And then Troy Reeder, turning out to look like a pretty quality ad by Brandon Staley this offseason. Both those guys looked great. We're going to dig a little bit more into all of these guys as we go along. So let's kick things off in terms of individual topics with the first one in terms of keep your eyes on the flag, right? On the yellow flag, I should say. I think most Chargers fans are going to walk away from this game thinking, man, we've got to clean up those penalties. And that certainly is the elephant in the room in terms of talking to other Chargers fans about the game this weekend. But you know what? the Chargers depth does need to clean up the penalties. 9 for 120. This resulted in some pretty bad situations for the Chargers that, in my opinion, was the leading culprit to the Rams outscoring the Bolts and ultimately, of course, defeating them in that preseason game. But I do want to highlight one thing, that a majority of these guys were rookies, right? The Chargers did have quite a few draft picks this last season, and a lot of these guys coming into the year for the first time, into the league for the first time. So I would say, welcome to the NFL, rookies, right? A lot of these things are going to get called. A lot of these things need cleaning up, but none of these, in my opinion, are not fixable in terms of coaching. And we did see a lot of things that were pretty good, even in some of those plays that were called as penalties. So we'll get into more of the individual stuff in just a second. Now, first topic, kind of a fun one. We're going to call it Toss the Carrot, Go with the Stick, right? And that's, of course, referencing our guy, Easton Stick. Now, I don't want to take anything away from Chase Daniel, like we saw from his stats in the box score there. In his defense, he was actually not bad, and not bad at all, right? Scoring 2 touchdowns. He even took off for like 22 yards at one point on the ground, showing off his mobility. He looked just fine, right? He looked pretty good. But I think when you put him, side by side with Easton Stick, it becomes pretty evident who's got the edge, right? Who's got the upside. At this point of Easton Stick's career, he's been a backup with the Chargers for many years now. I do think he's grown into quite the capable backup for this team. And right now, in terms of him making the team, it feels like the Chargers seem pretty chill with, rostering 3 quarterbacks at the moment, but you never know. With so much talent surfacing from other, depth positions, certainly you're going to need the space on defense. The Chargers may be forced to choose between the two. And honestly, I don't know what they would go with. I think me and a lot of other Chargers fans would certainly say keep number 2 on the roster. Easton Stick, provides the best chance at success if we need to call upon that position. But on the other hand, you want somebody that can offer something from the sidelines. And of course, Chase Daniel's been doing a great job at kind of mentoring Justin Herbert through the last couple of years. So who knows what they decide to do. Maybe we do just see 3 quarterbacks and that's the end of it. But let me know what your guys' thoughts are in the comment section. I'm all in for keeping Stick. I think he's a great depth piece. I think he's shown to, really prove that with his mobility and his playmaking that he's the better of the two when it comes to competitiveness. Next up, I think one of my favorite moments from this weekend, Tara, if she's watching, one of our mods on the channel, came up with a nickname for the pairing of Easton Stick and Michael Bandy. So this next segment is called the Sticky Bandits, baby. Speaking of Easton Stick, right? He was very fun to watch. In terms of Stick, he was scrambling, extending plays, scoring, rushing touchdowns. He looked fantastic. And fans have really loved Stick as a backup since being drafted for the Chargers so many years ago. He's continued to look great. But perhaps the player of the game, the player that's got all Chargers fans talking and gossiping, is going to be Michael Bandy, right? One of the Chargers depth pieces in the position of wide receiver. Bandy, as you guys may remember, was a pick for me last year to hopefully make the roster because we started seeing flashes a couple years ago. And you know what? I think he's going to be on that radar again this year. He was absolutely fantastic on Saturday. Now, of course, he was playing up against backups, but he really did start flashing, talent that's maybe reminiscent of a guy like Wes Welker. He was electric out there with Stick, and his crisp routes were certainly put on display. I think that's the biggest thing Michael Bandy's got going for him, is that his route running is very, very smooth. I think his first touchdown coming off of a zig route, in the intermediate part of the field, he was just very, very well in executing that play and took it all the way to the house. Very exciting to see him developing as a player and as an option for the Chargers to perhaps keep on the 53. And Bandy, in my opinion, when talking about the 53, is going to make things very complicated for the Bolts when trimming down this roster, because he's certainly making a case for himself early in the preseason as a guy worth keeping. Now, speaking about wide receivers a little bit, another topic I got asked quite a bit about was Josh Palmer, right? This next segment called Palmer's Celebrity Cameo. Now, with a lot of people asking about Palmer and wondering, did we not see him because maybe he was struggling? What was his issue on Sunday? Or Saturday, I would say he looked fantastic, right? Even if his numbers don't speak a great performance, I would say his performance says otherwise, because his targets at this point, were coming very early in the first quarter. They're all from Chase Daniel, and they were very poor quality passes. Of course, Chase Daniel did pretty good, overall for the day. When targeting Josh Palmer, pretty much every, ball that came his way was not too good. But when looking at pretty much all of the targets to Josh Palmer, he was open for a big play pretty much every single time. So at this point, I think it's pretty evident that Josh Palmer is going to be a big part of this offense going forward. He's going to have a big 2022 season. He might be one of those breakout guys over the course of the next couple of years. His routes spoke for themselves. His availability spoke for themselves. And when, talking, better quality passes from a guy like Justin Herbert, you can expect big things from Josh Palmer. And again, this is the first preseason. We may get to see more flashes with better quality play at quarterback in the next couple of weeks. Hopefully we see Josh Palmer get some reps with Easton Stick out there as well. That'd be pretty exciting. Next up, let's talk a little bit about Jerry Tillery. And this segment's called Tillery in for a Rumph Time. I love these puns, man. This feeds me. It brings me sustenance. Now, this may be the beginning of the end for Jerry Tillery. Of course, we're going to talk about Chris Rumph, who's on the screen right now. But Jerry Tillery, in this preseason game, struggled quite a bit. And I would say of the Chargers, defensive linemen, Tillery perhaps struggled the most. And again, this is against backups. This is a preseason game. We're not going to see a lot of starters out there. And that's a big red flag for Jerry Tillery. He's still showing signs of, vulnerability versus the run. He was outshined by many other players on Saturday in terms of, stopping the run, getting to the quarterback, which is kind of his specialty, right? It was pretty bad out there. And the biggest threat against him right now is likely going to be Morgan Fox, number 56 for the Chargers, who looked fantastic. Much better versus the run, much better versus the pass as well. And, he brings big power to that defensive line. That bull rush that got up in there versus the Rams quarterback was absolutely disgusting. And it really did stand out as a threat for a guy like Jerry Tillery to overtake his job. But perhaps some of the biggest surprises, at least for me, when it comes to that defensive line, came from the edge position, right? Chris Rumph, number 94 that you're seeing on the screen right now. Well, hello there. Wow, did he have a pretty big day, man. We knew Rumph was looking vastly improved in training camp, but did he show out on Saturday? 4 tackles, 2 for loss, and a sack. He was a big impact player in this game. Chris Rumph II has officially arrived. Very nice day for Chris Rumph. Congratulations to him. He's going to have, a very solid and secure spot on that roster. And additionally, the Bolts saw great showouts from other guys like Emeka Bule, who looked really nice out there, including Jamal Davis as well. He was looking solid too. So the depth behind Bosa and Mack all of a sudden is looking pretty solid, and that's not even including Kyle Van Noy at the moment. Congratulations to the depth on edge, man. The Chargers are looking very, very set there, despite who they decide to pick. My money right now is probably going to be on Jamal Davis, opposite Chris Rumph in terms of, those edge player positions, but Egbule definitely makes a case for himself as well. Now, perhaps the most exciting thing that we witnessed for the Chargers in terms of their offense, outside of Michael Bandy and Easton Stick, was certainly their run game, which looks vastly, vastly improved. This segment's called The Wrath of Horvath, Spiller, and Kelly. Now, I would say one of the biggest things that got me excited was that, at least my dreams, our dreams, I can say, came true when the Chargers handed the ball off to Xander Horvath on 4th and 1. You know what? Horvath handled that like a pro. He handled that beautifully. It was an easy conversion. And in that moment, I knew that our speculations had become reality. We have now got options for Brandon Staley and this team when it comes to converting on 4th and short or scoring on 4th and short. It was very, very refreshing to see that plan well executed and coming to fruition. And this will further reinforce, again, like I said, Staley's aggressive play style. Now we've got a wrecking ball for Brandon Staley to keep not only, his options open in terms of handing the ball off on 4th and 1, but also having that option. Just the presence of a guy like Xander Horvath on the line at 4th and 1 is going to help you in terms of, confusing your opponent. What are they coming out in? It's going to be a handoff to Horvath, right? Nah. Horvath can also receive, as we saw on Saturday as well. You could pretty much drop whatever you want. So long as Horvath and Spiller, maybe even Austin Eckler, all at the same time are on the field, it's going to keep your opponent guessing as to what's about to happen. But it doesn't end there, though. As we see Isaiah Spiller on the screen, Spiller was an absolute treat to watch work, right? It's pretty evident that the Chargers got a steal in the 4th round with Spiller. His footwork, oh my goodness. He didn't really break any especially big plays on Saturday, but what he did was show us what he's capable of generating in terms of short yardage, right? And it was solid, consistent yardage, which is very, very nice, man. He took often a lot of times a play that would often have been nothing and turned it into something significant. he also displayed his value in size, right? And oftentimes a 1 or 2 yard gain turned into a 3 or 4 yard gain with his ability to fall forward for more yards. That is pretty huge and something that was pretty much missing from the Chargers team last season. And that's with the backups blocking, mind you. Both Xander and Spiller, these guys put up some pretty nice numbers and some pretty good moves, even despite not having the starters on the line in front of them. Now imagine these guys with Zion Johnson, Corey Linsley, Filer in front of him, and then Slater on the outside. Wow. The upside for these dudes is pretty huge. So the Chargers, I think maybe flying under the radar a little bit in terms of how they improved their power run, looked really nice on Saturday. And then lastly, I wanted to give a nod to Joshua Kelly, who went from a potential cut, in my opinion, to a solid runner on Saturday. His hard running, exceptional receiving skills really did put up some nice yards. And despite my early lack of confidence, he's pretty much a lock to make the roster at this point, right? I feel like if he can make sure that ball security is his #1 priority going through the preseason, I think he's going to look just fine when entering the actual season as well. Now, aside from these three guys, we had Roundtree, Kevin Marks, Letty Brown. I think out of the three, Letty Brown did look the best, and all of them as a whole looked okay. But my guess at this point when it comes to the running back is that they're maybe going to roster 4, which includes Horvath, right? And to me, that's a very, very solid 4 running backs to keep on the roster. And it does open up another, spot for maybe a player on defense to be added in terms of depth. Now, speaking about depth, we're going to talk about the O-line depth on watch, okay? The Chargers offensive line, as amazing as it looks, does still have that one weak spot at right tackle, but I want to start with the positives here and the studs, okay? Let's talk about Zion Johnson a little bit. Oh my goodness. Zion Johnson looked incredible, right? His power, his technique, that was all on display on Saturday, right? And despite the bizarre PFF score we saw after the game, Zion looked as refined as anybody in the NFL, and he's going to provide a big boost this season. So don't worry about number 77. He looks just fine. He's going to be a big piece of this offensive line this season. Additionally, we did see some great stuff from Jamari Sawyer as well. He looked so good, as a matter of fact. I feel like it's almost reopening Pandora's box a little bit, right? In terms of, what do we do at right tackle? Because with the lack of improvement that we've seen at right tackle, it feels like Sawyer and Filer's name are kind of back on the radar to take the position, at least for me. Even though I think the likeliness of that actually happening is pretty low, you've got great options to throw out there. And my confidence, which is growing in Jamari Sawyer, is making that possibility more, I would say, risk-worthy to me, right? It's risky moving Matt Filer, but with Sawyer's performance, I think that risk is starting to lessen a little bit, and we're learning a little bit more about the security he brings at the guard position. Now, speaking of right tackle as well, right? How do we look on the right side with Trey Pipkins and Storm Norton on Saturday? And if I had to sum it up in one word, I would say meh, right? I don't know. I still don't think that we've seen enough to really start drawing a line in the sand here, right? Because neither have really moved the needle for me yet. I think we saw very, few reps. We saw very even reps for both players, and both of them looked, so-so. Maybe not even average at that point. I know that Pipkins got blown up. I know that Norton's got blown up a couple of times. I don't know yet. And I think that does draw some red flags for me at this point in the offseason. And again, this is why we may be opening a Pandora's box a little bit again in terms of Jamari Sawyer and Matt Filer. Because I think with a lot of the hype that we heard this offseason and their training and their progress, we're expecting a little bit more in terms of just kind of reaching that average line, right? All we really need is average. And so far, again, the needle hasn't been moved too much for me. So keep that in mind as we move forward. Hopefully we do see better improvement as we go through the preseason. Almost towards the end of the video here, I do want to mention this next segment in JT Woods in a 33 Mirage. Now, of the Chargers, we'll start with Dean Leonard. Okay, number 33, the brand new 33, and thus the reason I am wearing my Derwin James jersey today. It may create an incentive to update just to the single digit this season, right? So let's start with Dean Leonard a little bit. Of the Chargers that struggled the most on Saturday, unfortunately, I think Dean Leonard stands out pretty well, right? His penalties were pretty big, but I think even more concerning is he also struggled to when he was forced to make a play, if that makes sense. So when the ball is coming in his direction, it seems like he panicked a little bit, which resulted in a lot of flags. And again, the flags themselves, you can clean that up. They're still learning the protocol of the NFL. But in the end, that kind of led him to getting targeted more, and it did kind of show a little bit more struggle in terms of coverage. Now, he's going to be able to coach that out of him. I feel like he still has great upside, but it was sort of jarring to see Derwin's number, or his former number, struggle quite a bit on Saturday. But again, it's okay. He's a rookie. A lot of these things are going to be coachable. And in the end, even in some of the struggles that he had, he did display that he's very fast and physical, and his struggles in coverage are very coachable. So he'll be just fine. But additionally, I also did want to point out JT Woods, who also saw his struggles a little bit too, right? His most egregious play came when he tackled Dean Leonard on a big Rams reception. Are we going to get a little director cameo here? Say hi, little director.
I love you.
Oh, okay. He says hi. Great to see little director. He brings the good vibes, right? Even with his the grudge hair at this point. You're still pretty to me, right? JT Woods, again, tackling his own teammate. He looked a little lost in coverage. That was kind of pretty clear in Saturday's game. And again, I'm not too worried yet about JT Woods. Like Dean Leonard, he's got amazing physical traits, the size, the speed. He just needs to clean up those rookie mistakes. So I will say his best play of the night came in that signature interception, right? We called it the Bandy leap, as reference to one of the Chargers greats in Lance Allworth. He went up there and he snagged that thing, didn't he, little director? Didn't he? But unfortunately, that play was wiped away by a PI caused by Brandon Sebastian, I do believe. It was pretty interesting to witness that. But still, the upside is pretty evident that he's, there's a reason why Brandon Staley went after him. And it's because of the upside in terms of his ball skills. He can come away with a turnover at pretty much any point. So I think he'll be fine. He's going to be one of those slow burners, right? He's going to be one of those slow burners. And finally, to wrap up this video, I did want to give a nod, man. I could not end this video without giving a nod to our new punter, J.K. Scott. I'm sure a lot of us were pretty bummed out, right? When we saw the footage of Matt Araiza, a lot of us wanted him on the team. He's tossing it for what, like 82 yards or something ridiculous. A lot of us were kind of bummed that we missed out on the Araiza trade. But you know what? J.K. Scott quickly alleviated my envy, because this dude was impressive. He looked fantastic. I don't know what the official time was on the hang time, but it felt like that thing was never coming down, right? It was impressive enough that I noticed a big play from a punter. You guys could even see on my stream during those punts, I was like, oh my, when is this thing coming down? It's like it went up into the clouds, high five Zeus, and is on its way back right now. Pretty impressive. So Chargers fans, get excited, I guess, for a new punter. His upside looks pretty good. Now, finally, to end this video, I do want to say, in answering my own question in terms of who do I pick, Joe Reed or Michael Bandy, I think right now Michael Bandy has a slight edge, right? Especially with Reed's return ability. Those demands are not as valued now that DeAndre Carter is on the roster. But do I think either one of these guys takes Jalen Guyton's position? No, not at all. I think, if anything, the Chargers, it's possible for them to roster 6 wide receivers. If either of the two make it, though, I think I'm going to give the edge to Michael Bandy at this point. So with that, guys, let me know in the comment section below what you thought of this game, some of the highlights from this game, some of your favorite plays from this game, anything I may have missed in terms of covering, some of the big plays, some of the players to be watching. Let me know all that stuff in the comment section below, and get excited for the Chargers Week 2 preseason game coming up on Saturday. The Chargers versus Dallas Cowboys. It should be a pretty good one. So let's wrap up this video properly. You want to say bye to everybody? Come on the camera and say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for joining me so much. This has been the director, and as always, can you say bolt up?
Bolt up.
And stay frosty.
Spray.
Spray, sprout, stay. We'll take it, guys. Take care. We'll see you soon.